Hello and welcome to this session on guidance on choosing a new career. My name is David Carey from Inspire Career Consultancy, and within this session I want to introduce you to a model that is used within Inspire Career Consultancy to help people consider the key elements of a career move. Having done this, I want to explain how you can use the information to help you come up with some career choices, and then again, how you can use the information to help you decide on the best choice from the ones you have researched. So to move on, I want to introduce you to the model on the slide that will appear in a moment. Within this slide, you can see that there are 4 boxes on the left-hand column and 4 on the right. I want to start at the top left-hand box and consider your interests. Now, your interests point to the field of work you might be interested in working in. However, not necessarily the job within the field. What do I mean by this? It might be, for instance, that you are interested in farming, but you don't actually want to be a farmer. You don't actually want to work within the soil and the animals within a typical farm. But you're still interested in farming as a topic. The second port of call is to look at your skills. Now, your skills point to the job within the field. So to give you an example, let's say that you are interested in numeracy. You might find yourself working in the accountancy department of a large farm. So you can now see how the areas start to build on each other. The field of interest is farming, and within that, you're going to work within the accountancy department, maybe as a bookkeeper, for instance. The third port of call is to look at your values. Now, your values help match you to the job environment and help you decide if, in fact, it's the right environment for you. So let's give a concrete example. Say one of your values is saving the planet, going green. Then you might find yourself working in the accounting department of a large organic farm. So the key word here is organic, bringing in your interest. The last port of call is to look at your personality. Now, your personality helps you decide on your fit, your match to the people working within the environment. So, for instance, if you are an introvert, you might prefer a very quiet working environment where you can focus on what you want to do. Whereas if you are an extrovert, you might want much more people contact, and you might want to have a lot of enthusiasm and noise going on in the environment around you. So if we stick with the farming analogy, you might end up working for an organic farm in the accountancy department with a lively bunch of people around you. And this is one of the things that you could look for at interview time, to think, will this environment match my personality? Okay, so having introduced the model, I would now like you to get yourself a piece of paper and draw the model out, leaving the right-hand boxes empty as per the next slide. So what I want you to do here is leave those boxes open, and as we go through a few exercises, I'll be inviting you to fill them in. So please, with your diagram in hand, let us start to consider interests. You might also want a spare piece of paper to make some odd notes on. On the next slide, we're going to look at a set of interests. And what I want you to do is simply write down on your spare piece of paper the interests that jump out at you. These are the ones that you are particularly interested in. So please glance down the list, and what I suggest you do is pause this video to give yourself a few minutes to consider the list. I do recommend that you do spend some quality time here. How often do we actually spend quality time working on our career? There's been some research done which shows that people spend more time choosing a holiday, definitely choosing a house, than they do on choosing a career. So here's your chance to give yourself some quality time. So please pause the video and do just that, and then come back when you have a list of interests that you have jotted down. I'll see you in a while. Having done that, would you now select your top interest? And what I'd like you to do is simply put your top interest in the top right-hand box. You can see on the following slide that I have selected career counselling, as that's what I'm doing, and I want to talk about that example in a little bit more depth later on. But please, on the next slide, just add your particular interest. Please pause the video if you need some time to do this. Okay, if you pause the video, welcome back. And we are now going to move on to looking at your skills. So it's a similar exercise now. I would like you to look at the next slide and consider which skills you are drawn to. Please note, as you look at this list, I'm not particularly asking you to pick skills that you are an expert in. In fact, you may have no expertise or competency in these skills at all. You might pick one that you would just like to have within a career. The reason this is important is that you might find you can move into your interest area and learn a new skill as you do that, using one of your existing skills to secure the employment. Let me dive into that just a little bit deeper. What I'm saying is that you might have a very good existing skill, and you know that this particular company is good at training. You may use that skill to get into a company within your interest area, and then when you've settled in, ask for opportunities to be retrained. So please stop the video if you need a few more minutes to select the skills that you are drawn to. Okay, welcome back. Now, just as per the interest exercise, I would like you now to pick your top skill that you would either like to develop or simply use within the interest field, and then put it in the second box down within the diagram. I'm going to show you my example now in the following slide. You can see here that I have chosen presenting. So what I'm saying here is that my interest field is career counselling, but the skill I'm most interested in using within that is presenting. So please just now put your skill within that second box, and then we will move on to the next stage. Please pause the video if you need to consider and put that skill in the correct box. Welcome back again. Our third port of call is to look at your values. If you remember from the example I gave earlier, this could be something like valuing the planet, going green. So again, on the next slide, which will appear in a moment, please select the values that are important to you. This is just a subset of values, and if there is something that isn't there, then please simply add it. And while I mention that, you might want to go back and add something to the interests or the skills area if it's something you're particularly interested in or skilled in and I haven't shown it. Please pause the slide to give yourself that all-important time to consider the values, and I'll join you again in a minute. Welcome back again. Having now selected your values, please once again pick your top value and put it in the third box on the right. Here comes the slide again, and I'll show you my selection. For me, my top value is concern for others. So it's in the third box. So please pause the slide again if you need some quality time to consider yours, and then we'll go on to the fourth and last area. The fourth area is your personality and your match to the people around you. This is a large area. In fact, within the Inspire Career Library, I've written a book just on personality, which, by the way, I have also done on interest, skills and values. And you might want to know a little bit more about those. If you do, please go to www.inspirecc.com. So given that we can only touch on personality here, I would like you to look at the next slide, which will come up in a moment, and then I'll talk you through it. What I've done here is to look at what Jung calls the introvert-extrovert dimension of personality. Carl Jung was a very, very famous psychologist and developed a very powerful personality model, which you might have heard about, popularly called Myers-Briggs. It's a very interesting tool if you want to explore it more. You can find it in my book 4 on personality if you so desire to take a deeper dive. What I want you to do in this exercise is to look down the extrovert and introvert columns and simply write down the areas that you relate to. Now, please note as I say this, that you might find you like some within extrovert and some within introvert. There's no very fast black and white rules here. But if you're an extrovert, you might tend to go for the right-hand column. And if you're an introvert, you might tend to go for the left-hand column. So again, please give yourself the quality time and consider this slide and identify the areas that you relate to and jot them down on your spare piece of paper. And I'll be back in a moment. Having looked at your personality and maybe jotted down a few areas, please add any other areas of your personality that come to mind, which might not be to do with being an extrovert or an introvert. It might be another area. And then, having done that, please select the most important one to you and put it in the last remaining empty box. And now I'm going to show you what I did in my last box. So now simply look at the extrovert. No, I've done this bit. Dave, please cross this bit out. Hello again. You can see that I like being around other people. That is one of my strongest extrovert personality traits. What does this mean in practice? It means that if I was stuck in a library all day, I think I'd be pulling my hair out. I need people to talk to. So now, if we put this whole model together, for my example, you can see that I'm interested in career counselling. Within that, I have a skill and an interest in using the skill of presenting. My value is having a concern for other people, and I like being around other people. So now I want to delve into this a little bit further and help you with what you may have written down. So we're now going to move on to consider how you yourself can use the key information you've generated in these 4 exercises. There are 3 things that you can use this for. The first one is to help you consider some key things within choosing a career. And those key things you've seen are your interests, skills, values, and personality. Each of these areas may give you an insight into what you're looking for. So how can you use these to help you generate career choices? Well, there are a number of ways to do this. I just want to mention 2 for now. The first one is to do a Google search within those areas. So in my case, I might have searched for career counselling. I might have searched for presenting. And in looking at the results from the Google search, I will have noted down any careers or jobs that I'm drawn to. By the way, I want to spend a moment, just as a slight digression, talking about the difference between a career and a job. They in fact work together. A career is something with a path to it. It might take many years and there will be many stages in the development of the career. There will be many job steps within that career. And that then brings us to the word job. So in one sense, you can consider a job as being a step within a career. There is another sense, which is that you might consider a job on its own, and you're not really looking for a career. You just want a particular job and you don't look for any advancement. And there could be all sorts of reasons for this. The same model still works. Your interests, skills, values, and personality can either lead to a job within a career, which you will progress over time, or a job which you will keep for many years, potentially the rest of your life. There's another area that I want to talk about in terms of helping you generate career choices. And that is to talk to someone who's actually following that career or job right now. And that's one of the reasons why I've chosen myself as an example while I was guiding you through the process. Let's say you decided you in fact wanted to be a career counsellor. You might choose to ring me up. And by the way, if this is the case and it does interest you, please do exactly that. And my contact details will be at the end of this session. So what will happen in practice if you do that? Well, you can ask to talk to that person, that professional, that job holder, and ask them what the job is like in practice. In many cases, people will be prepared to help you for free. I will certainly give you some of my time. However, if you approach some people, they may see it as part of their business and they may ask you for a fee for their time. I would suggest that this would be really worthwhile and to ask them how much 20 minutes of their time would cost. And if you think it's reasonable, I really suggest you pay that and make use of the person. So what sort of things might you ask them? You might ask them how they got into the job. You might ask them what they like about the job. You might ask them what they don't like about the job. You might also, if it is an interest area you phoned about, but remembering the example of the farmer, you don't want to work in that interest area, you might ask them about jobs associated with the interest area. So let's take my area of career counselling as an example. If you were to ask me exactly that, what are the jobs associated with career counselling? I would be telling you that there's quite a lot of research involved. I will often ask people to do some background research. I would also tell you that I have an IT person backing me up, who's actually helped me with these videos. And I would go on to tell you that I have a bookkeeper who also does my accounting and tax return, because I loathe, with a capital L, bookkeeping. However, it's very integral. Why is this important? It's important because the jobs that I've outlined there support me in a vital way, but those people are working within career counselling, albeit not working directly in career counselling. They still have the interest area around them. We now have this session starting to come to a close, but there's one more very valuable area that I would like to introduce you to, and that is a tool to help you select your best career choice. Now, to help you do that, I would like you to consider for a moment 4 jobs you might like to apply for. Now, it doesn't matter if you're not very, very interested in them. You will see the reason I'm asking you to do this in a moment. So please pause this slide, and on your spare piece of paper, jot down 4 jobs that you think, yeah, you know, I could see myself doing those. They may not set my world alight, but perhaps I could do them. And then I'm going to show you how we can use all the valuable information within this session to help you decide which of those 4 is best for you. And then you will have a tool to use potentially for the rest of your career and job seeking days to help you make those key decisions. So please pause this video for a few moments to allow you to do that, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I hope you've managed to get 4 jobs or careers that you are actually potentially interested in, even if only a little bit. On the next slide, I'm going to introduce you to the tool. There's quite a lot here. I'll be going over it slowly. Then I'll be pausing the slide for a while to let you take it in. And then I'll be moving to a slide to allow you to actually carry out this exercise yourself. So here you can see the slide. Now, I've actually produced this in the form of a spreadsheet. You don't have to use a spreadsheet. You can just use a table written on a piece of paper if you want. And that's exactly how I used to do these things early on, before I knew how to use spreadsheets. So if we look at this sheet, you can see there are a number of rows and columns. The first column is where you identify the 4 areas that you've selected from these exercises. And you can see that I have put down career counselling, presenting, concern for others, and being around people as my 4 areas. You can probably see now that you could use this tool to capture a lot more areas as well. But for now, I just would like you to work with these key 4 areas. The second column is what I'm calling the weighting. You can see some instructions in the top left-hand box. What I'm looking for you to do is to put a number there within 1 and 10, which represents how important that area is to you relatively against the other 3. So in my case, I have put 6. This means it's quite important. 10 represents the highest choice. Realistically, how important it is to me at the maximum. If you look at the next one, which is presenting, you can see I've given it 4 out of 10. And then for concern for others, I've given it 8. And lastly, being around other people, I've given it 5. So these represent how important these 4 are to me relative to each other. Now, if we look at the next main column, which is entitled Job Career Dates Reviewed, June the 22nd, working in a human resources consultancy. This breaks down into 2 sub-columns. The first one you can see is entitled Raw, and there is a box on the top right that describes what I want you to do here. So what I want you to do is think about that particular career. In my case, it was working in a human resources consultancy. And for me, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 means it absolutely satisfies the area of general career counselling, I gave it a 5. So it wasn't very high, because for me, within a human resources consultancy, career counselling would only be a small part. And then I've similarly given a weighting for the other areas, as you can see. I've given presentation 2, because in that particular role, I would hardly be presenting at all. And then concern for others is 5, because again, there's lots of administration and there's lots of general meetings with people that I wouldn't actually be helping, other people in the department. And then lastly, being around other people, I've given it slightly higher. I've given it 6, because as well as maybe people I'm helping, I would certainly be around other people within the department. If you look at the bottom of that column, you can now see on the right-hand side of the 2 sub-columns a figure, in this case 108. How have we arrived at that? Well, if you go to the top of that column again and then look down and find the first entry 5, what I've done in the adjoining column is I've multiplied that raw number 5 with the weighting 6 to give me a total of 30. This indicates exactly the score for that particular area. Looking further down that second sub-column, you can see the results of multiplying the previous 2 columns together, giving 8, 40 and 30. And then when you add those 4 figures together, you end up with 108. Now we come to the real magic of this approach. In the next column, I've considered another possible job or career path, which is designing and presenting a career workshop. And you can see this has got a much higher overall total, 178. And then finally, in the last column, I've chosen working on a career helpline. Now, I did this for a couple of years, and whilst it is certainly within my interest areas, it is not as strong as the last column, which is the career workshop. So I hope you can see that this is a very useful tool to help you decide out of a number of career or job choices, which could be the best one for you. Before I move on and let you have a think about this yourself, there is a final use for this spreadsheet, and this is to help you ask questions at interviews. So for instance, if I'd been invited to the job on the career helpline, I might not have been able to answer from my research how much I would be working with people outside of the telephone contact, and I may not have been able to give that area a score. So here we have a ready-made question to ask in an interview. Okay, in a moment, I'm going to show you the blank screen, sorry, the blank table. So now it's your turn. Please jot down on a piece of paper the rough structure of the table. Enter your 4 areas from the interests, skills, values, and personality. Assign each of them a weighting on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest, the most important area. Then consider your 4 jobs or careers. I hope you did manage to do that. Put them in the columns, give them some raw numbers between 1 and 10. And as a quick reminder, that is how far those jobs or careers satisfy the 4 areas in column 1, your interests, skills, values, and personality. Then multiply the raw and the weighting column together to give you the final weighted figure at the bottom of the table. Please pause this video to allow you to do that, and then come back and we will move to closing this session. Thank you. Well, I hope you managed to get some use out of that session in your particular circumstance, either right now, or you can see how it will be of use to you. So what have we looked at today? We started by looking at a key model made up of the 4 areas of interests, skills, values, and personality. We then moved on to explore that model with a set of interests, skills, values, and personality areas to allow you to capture some for yourself. Having produced that information, we then looked at how to use that information to help you search for a particular career, with the little tip of ringing up someone who's actually in that career, albeit maybe having to pay for their time, and asking them some questions to really do a deep dive into it. And then having done that, you're introduced to the spreadsheet, which you can use to help you consider different careers against those 4 areas. So I'd like to start to bring this to a close by asking you if you have any questions. Now, I clearly can't answer them now, but I'm very happy to take a quick phone call if you would like to do just that. And on the last slide that I will be putting up in a moment, you will have my contact details. Before I do that, I would like to invite you to have a look at the other videos within this free gifts from David area. There is a video on how to give a quick presentation. This is something you find you might need to do in an interview. So in this session, we've moved on from helping you choose your career to helping you actually gain the career. In the third free gift from David, there's a short video on testing. Testing is actually a bad name. It's actually assessments, and it includes psychometrics and a little bit more of a dive into personality, which I've already mentioned on this video. And the last thing within this area is an audio. Now, this audio is designed for you to use in the car, or maybe to play through headphones if you go on a walk. And what I'm looking at here is the world of work. I'm looking at how it has changed and how you can relate to that change and really help use it to move you forward. So let's move on to the very last slide with my contact details. So it only remains for me to say goodbye for now. And it has been a pleasure being able to produce this video for you. Please have a look at the other stuff. And if I can help you at all with a brief chat on the phone, please contact me or email me. And by all means, have a look at www.inspirecc.com if you want to see the other things that are on offer from Inspire Career Consultancy to help you. Bye for now, and I hope I do meet you in the future, either in one of these videos or face-to-face within one of my workshops, on the phone, within a Zoom, or maybe within one of my books from the Inspire Career Consultancy, all of which you can find further details on my website. Thank you again, and bye for now.